Who is standing up for 1791? The American experiment is, can man rule himself? But what is our founding principle? What was the spark that said we have to find a way to have man rule himself? Can you name it? If you had to boil America down to one thing and say, this is really what we are. This is at the root. This is the most important thing. Can you think of it?
Individuals. Personal responsibility.
Capitalism. The Constitution. Faith. But
nothing is really diehard right in your head. You're just like, it's this, maybe it's a combination
Freedom.
of this.
Maybe that's a liberty would be the all-encompassing word for those things.
May I suggest that the idea that is at the very cornerstone, it is the original founding principle that made everybody say, okay, that's true now. How do we do it? Is we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Those three things, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I was reading a book the other day, and it's just tremendous, and it has given me a new perspective on life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Not intentionally. I was reading, it's a novel, and I was reading this part where this 14-year-old girl who is living in the mountains of Iran, and she's just this sweet, sweet girl. And her father gets caught up in something, and he's a good guy, and he's trying to do the right thing. But soldiers come to town. They end up tying him to a tree and setting him on fire in front of her. But as these soldiers come to town, he's in their little teeny shack and they're dirt poor. And he hears these trucks pull up in the middle of the night. Now, there are no real trucks in this mountain region of Iran. And he jumps out of bed, and he has to make a decision. Do I get the rifle from under the floor? His grandfather had a rifle, and he's hidden it under the floor because if you have a gun in Iran, you're dead. And he's like, is this the time I finally pull that out? Who is arriving? And he hears footsteps in the gravel. And he realizes that it is either the government just coming to go grab anyone who can fight, and they're just gone, or it's nefarious drug cartels or mullahs kind of thing, where they just are going to just take my children and take them and put them into slavery. And as I'm reading that, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness came to mind. And I think I have a new perspective on this. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is the founding idea, that we hold these truths to be self-evident. That all men are created equal. That they're all endowed by their Creator with certain rights that you cannot take away. Think of this. You're given these rights by God, and no man can change them. They are unchangeable truths that everyone is endowed by their Creator with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These things we have held self-evident for so long, we no longer appreciate them. Why is the United States successful? I can tell you because we're entrepreneurs. We think out of the box. We had cheap energy for a long, long time. We had a spirit that was different. I don't think that's it. You don't think out of the box if you are cowering because a boot is coming down on your throat. You don't think out of the box if you are trying to protect yourself and your family. You know the people that were stuck right there in Chicago on the highway in the snow? And some of them survived because they happened to have cookies in the car? And they were calling 911? And they were, did you see the freeway in Chicago? Where people were just, they were stuck. The snow was coming down. And they're calling 911 and they're angry at 911. What do you mean nobody can come? It's a natural disaster. You shouldn't have been driving, dope. And here they are in a major U.S. city. You're on a major highway, not in the middle of nowhere. You're in Chicago. And you might die in your car on the freeway from snow. Nobody can get there? No. As I was reading this story about this beautiful girl and her father in the mountains of Iran, and all they want is to be left alone. All he wants to do is first buy her a birthday present. But he can't. He can't afford anything at the local market because he has no money. They barely have any food because the crops that he was growing, it was a bad year. They had nothing. And she understands. And she eventually grabs onto her father's hand and says, Dad, I have you. That's the only thing I need. She was disappointed, but she wanted her father to feel good. And so they go back home. And then that father is standing there in a house that none of us would even consider living in. We would be like, how do you, what? And he hears boots and trucks. Is it someone that is just going to come in and take my liberty? Just take me. No trial. No rights. Who are you? Nothing. You get in the truck. And he would have to go. You fight. And he would have to. And there's nobody to call. There's no phone, let alone 911. You don't call to get the bad guys out. You don't call for help because the people you're calling are the bad guys. How many people worldwide have just had their children taken from them, and there's nothing anyone will do? China, one-child policy. You have two, they take your child and kill them, and there's nothing you can do because you don't have the right to life. They give you that right, and they will take it away. How many people? We have American children that were killed on the border of Mexico, and I don't see that as a front page story anywhere. It's on the front page of the Blaze. children. Just gunned down and killed. American citizens gunned down and killed. Do you really think that their parents are calling anyone and they really expect help? No. The reason why America has always been successful is because we had those rights and we weren't corrupt. You had reasonable trust that the bad guys would get caught. You had reasonable trust when you picked up the phone that the cop was a good guy. Why have African Americans, why were they so disadvantaged? Because in a good portion of the country for a very long time after slavery, they couldn't call the cop. The cop was the bad guy. They couldn't call for help. You want to talk about disadvantage. You want to talk about not being able to make it. It's when all men are not created equal. Some are above others. You want to talk about not having a shot. When you don't have the right to life. When you can't just call. When you don't have a right to liberty, someone can just put you in jail or take you. You cannot pursue happiness. Happiness becomes very, very small and very, very basic. It's those little moments when you're not fighting for your life or liberty. And that's the way that most of the world is. And it's the way most of the world, 99% of the world, has always been. I'm reading this book and I read that story and I thought to myself, I don't live on the border. I don't worry about my children that way. I still have reasonable belief that the good guys are on the other end of the phone. I don't live in a country where the government can just take you. The answer will come through gratitude. No one can play you, no matter how hungry you are, if you're grateful that we find these truths to be self-evident. Because those self-evident truths are the only things that matter. Everything else can be taken away. But as long as we have those self-evident truths, our children will be better off tomorrow than we are today. Unfortunately, I don't know how to teach gratitude without losing everything. But if we're going to survive, gratitude for those three things must be found.